Hi, today we will be presenting about How the War Begins by Ryu.
And WWII. The Germans led two separate groups on an attack on Poland on September 1, 1939. The campaign against Poland became first known as a Blitzkrieg or Lightning War. This strategy included the use of a lot of massive tanks, which were supported by close air support. This allowed the Germans to punch holes in enemy lines and quickly moved on to the next target, while the infantry would finish off the remaining enemies. Elements of surprise and speed were the main components German tactics.
The Polish army was far more powerful compared to German military machine in terms of both quantity and quality of equipment. Even though the Poles put up a good resistance, their forces were completely surprised in the first few days of the invasion. On September 17, Soviet military forces, in the excuse of protecting Russians living in eastern Poland, invaded the eastern part of the country, accomplishing the secret protocols of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact.
The inroads being made by British intelligence using the information given by Polish sources were very crucial in cracking the German Enigma codes used for naval radio traffic. By 1939, Polish intelligence started cracking German military codes, mainly the codes created by an Enigma ciphering machine. This effort by the Polish shared their insights with the French and British would be important in helping the Allies to eventually defeat Nazi forces in Europe. This information would be necessary for the Ultra program. This intelligence would prove to be important in allowing the Allied forces to survive the threat of German submarines.
During the 1920s, the isolationist movement gained strength in the US, which argued that America should focus its interests on the Western Hemisphere and leave Europe to sort out its own issues. The origin of this movement traced back to World War I.
During the 1930s, neutrality acts were passed to stop America from getting involved in future wars. Neutrality Act of 1935 forbade exporting munitions to belligerent nations, restricted the use of American ports by submarines, and allowed the president to declare that Americans traveling on ships of belligerent nations did so at their own risk. However, the breakout of war in Europe in 1939 changed American neutrality.
The attack on France began on May 10, 1940, along with German attacking Belgium and the Netherlands in order to secure the flanks of the main German attack. Dutch resistance had no chance of slowing down the progress of the Germans. Belgian forces encountered the same fate. The French and British military believed that the main German attack against France would come through Belgium, as it had at the start of World War I.
However, German military leaders decided that the attack on France would consist of a deceptive attack into Belgium in order to lure French and British forces further north while the main attack would come through the Ardennes forest. The plan was to let German armor units to move quickly behind the main bodies of the Allied forces and cut them off. By May 15, German forces splintered the French defensive and began to advance through the French countryside. The success of the advance through Ardennes caused the entire Allied defensive line to begin to fall.
On June 10, 1940, the situation worsened when Italy declared war on France. The French government began to fall apart, and on June 16, Henry Philippe Pétain, a war hero of World War I, assumed power over the French government. 6 days later, he arranged an end to hostilities with Germany. The peace terms that Hitler imposed were harsh. Under the terms, Germany would accommodate the northern part of France, including the whole of its Atlantic coastline, and also demand huge reparation payments from the French. In return, the southern part of France would remain the same, and importantly, the Germans made no demands about French overseas colonies or French navy.
Vichy France, a new French state, became one of the most contested symbols of World War II. Charles de Gaulle and many others urged their leaders to continue fighting the war from France's colonies in Africa. When the Vichy government agreed to Germany's term, de Gaulle and others claimed that they, not the Vichy government, represented the true government of Free France and would continue to fight the war. This is the end.